This week on Motor Week, a world exclusive, a first drive of Citroen's revolutionary C3. Plus a new high-tech way to track your stolen vehicle or sales fleet using your own computer. But first, let's join Ian Royle in Ingolstadt, Germany.
Hello and welcome to Motor Week with a specially extended feature coming to you from Ingolstadt in Germany, the home of Audi. It's 100 years of Audi we're celebrating in this specially extended feature. We've come here to see what happens if you want to buy a new Audi car. You come here to this huge collection point to buy your new Audi and pick it up. You can also shop at the Audi shop. You can drop the kids off at the Audi kindergarten. You can book a holiday in there, and then you can collect your brand new Audi. It might be an A3, it might be a TT, it might be an A4, an A6 or an A8. When you come and arrive here, you look up there, you see your name and your time, you check in, you're shown around the car, shown all the features before you drive out onto the road and home again. Out of the entire historic Audi collection, this is the oldest still in existence from 1902. It's a car which bears the name of its creator on the radiator, August Horch. Now, Audi came into being 100 years ago, back in 1899, thanks primarily to this chap here, a chap named August Horch. It was in 1899 that he set up his own car company, but then a few years later decided that he'd had enough of his partners and wanted to set out on his own with his own venture. Now, Horch was already a registered name, so he couldn't use the name Horch for his new car company, and instead, a clever idea by his son, who said Horch translated into Latin means Audi, and so the Audi car company was born, and it's all thanks to this man here. In a former stable, Horch created his vibrationless engine and designed the car with shaft drive, a real breakthrough for the era, as it was technically complex to do.
And this was the birthday of Audi in 1909. So the fact is that 100 years of Horch and 90 years of Audi were celebrating this year.
Immediately after that, a car was produced with an overhead valve engine. I was probably the first person to position these valves in the middle of the cylinder. This car ran extraordinarily well. It is the car that won the Herkommer trial in 1906.
Now, perhaps you've wondered what the four rings of Audi signify. Well, so did I until recently, when I found out that what it means is the combination of four of Germany's largest automobile manufacturers combining together in 1932. We had DKW, we had Wanderer, we had Audi and Horch, which all came under that same banner and so created the four rings of Audi that we know today.
With the foundation of the Auto Union AG in 1932, where the four brands Audi, DKW, Wanderer and Horch came together, they had a very good segmentation of these four brands. DKW was a brand for the smaller cars, for the cheaper cars. Then Wanderer was more a bit sporty, but mid-size. Audi was a mid-size into the luxury segment and Horch in the luxury segment.
Now, here's a great did you know fact. Audi was the first manufacturer to build a left-hand drive car with centre gear lever. It was years before competitors managed this, and four-wheel brakes was also a first for the company. At the Berlin show in 1926, Horch unveiled an 8-cylinder car, the first German company to do so. This new product signalled the carmaker's venture into the deluxe market segment. Now, although we know Audi today as a luxury car manufacturer, back in the 30s under the Auto Union gaze, they were a real sports car manufacturer as well. Take this 1939 CD racing car. Absolutely stunning. You can imagine them driving this back in the 30s, but just look at how uncomfortable it was for the driver. A very upright driving position, the steering wheel huge and right there in your face, very, very heavy. all-round clutch, gearbox and steering. But still immaculate, in perfect working condition too, and this car still goes round shows every year and is still driven. But Audi's sporting heritage is something that they'd really like to get back to, you think. Certainly they did well at Le Mans this year, and who knows what of the future.
I'd like to see the race history of Audi like it was in the 30s with the Auto Union Silver Arrows, then with the rally cars and the super touring cars in the late 80s and 90s. And I would like to have these R8s, which started this year first time in Le Mans and made third and fourth place, probably can continue the racing history of Audi.
One of the things which is very important to Audi is motorsport. And through the entire Audi history, really going back through the 30s with the Auto Union Grand Prix cars, through the 80s with the Quattro rally cars, into racing, touring car racing, and more recently Le Mans, motorsport has had a very, very important role to play within Audi. And that's kind of the image that we like to develop with the Audi product range that we sell in the marketplace.
This unique cavalcade from historic to modern shows Audi's design development over the decades. In the late 50s, Audi went through some very tough financial times. It was bought by Daimler-Benz and then sold to Volkswagen, which heralds the start of the modern era. The result was the first four-stroke engine in the first new Audi.
The claim of Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik, is based probably best in these cars. First begin with the Quattro, and then in 1982 with the internally called C3 Audi 100 car with a coefficient of 0.30 to show to the public that we are thinking about reducing consumption and also building up big cars, comfortable cars and technology advanced cars. And this was, I think, a very big step in terms of technical development.
It is strange to be here in the Audi Heritage Museum at Ingolstadt when nearby in the factory 2,000 modern-day Audis are coming off the assembly line each day looking nothing like their ancestors. Modern-day Audis have come so far. It was the A4, the old 8T replacement, which was the big breakthrough, an achievement in style and technology which at last put the mark genuinely into the BMW Mercedes League. This year, the A4 has been upgraded further. Just what are the tweaks?
The introduction of the A4 originally was the car that really set Audi on the road to where it is today. And I think without the A4 we couldn't have established the credibility of the entire range with the A3, 4, 6 and 8 and the niche models such as the TT. What was difficult to do was improve on the A4, and the recent styling changes are very, very subtle. The bigger changes are really in the engineering of the car, in the suspension settings, the suspension bushes, close up, the panel gaps are actually tightened up so that the structure of the car is much, much stronger.
Back here at the collection centre in Ingolstadt, Germany, more customers are collecting their brand new TTs, A4s, A6s or A8s. This area of Germany really is Audi land. But in the UK, what sort of image is Audi really going for with the British driver?
I think the basic principle is that we sum up what we're all about with three words: modern, innovative and individual. Audi have always made innovative cars, going back to the really early years in the 30s. The Grand Prix Auto Unions, which was part of the Audi family, had engines behind the driver, which was pioneering in those days of Grand Prix racing. And indeed it is now the configuration of all modern Grand Prix cars. Having that technological edge but always technology which is relevant to the customer is something that we've had throughout our history, and that's something we'll hang on to very dearly.
One of the great joys of being a motoring journalist is that you get to go places where, well, if you were a member of the public, you just wouldn't get to go. For instance, here we are at the Audi Tradition Museum in Ingolstadt. This isn't normally open to the public. We're allowed here today to look at these wonderful cars. But looking is all well and good. Imagine what it would be like to drive something like this on the open road. If only. A 1939 Audi 920 convertible. It must have been at the time the bee's knees. A 6-cylinder engine, 2.5 litres, producing about 70 brake horsepower, would get you to a top speed of around about 70 miles an hour. Now, these cars were produced between 1938 and 1940. Of course, the war would have affected production greatly, and they really are quite fun to drive. Well, what a positively amazing car. It's been a fascinating trip to Ingolstadt here to celebrate 100 years of Audi tradition. It's quite amazing to drive a car like this, which is, after all, 60 years old. And it makes you think that the Audi tradition is something very special. At the time, just before the outbreak of the Second World War, this must have been the absolute bee's knees in automobiles. But of course, without Audi's tradition, cars like that and all the other great cars that we've seen wouldn't have been produced. And cars like this, the stunning TT, also wouldn't have been produced. That car is, well, it's rather difficult to drive for somebody who's not used to the lack of power steering and lack of power brakes and things like this. This car makes you incredibly lazy. But I'm driving home in this all the same.
After the break, a world-exclusive drive in the new C3, plus tracking your car from space.
If you're over 30 years of age, or like me, considerably over 30, this vehicle here will bring a huge smile back to your face and a whole host of memories. The Citroen 2CV is undoubtedly one of the classic cult cars of the last 40 years. It's been variously described as a motorised pram, a pushchair on wheels, but whatever you think of it, it was a huge success. It was powered by a 375cc engine, if you can actually call that power. Top speed was a frightening just under 40 miles per hour. 0 to 60, well, forget about that. In case you're wondering what this trip down memory lane is all about, and whether it's simply a nostalgic ramble by an old man, there is a very important point to this piece, and I'm about to show you what it is. And this is what all the fuss is about, the C3. Citroen's answer to the Super Mini of the future. It's a giant leap forward for them, and we're about to get a giant world exclusive and get the very first drive of this amazing new car. This is Citroen at its innovative and quirky best. The whole car is beautifully balanced. The instant recognition comes with the chevron at the front. The actual shape and profile is very much in memory of the 2CV. Slopes back in a nice angle to the rear. It's like a front to back car. It almost looks the same front or back, and that adds to its attractiveness. We aren't going to be doing any great speeds in this vehicle, quite simply because it's the only one in the world and is worth an awful lot of money. It's in fact just come back from Shanghai, where it was the star of the Chinese Motor Show. When it actually goes into production, there'll be a series of engines, probably a 1.2. This has actually got a 1.6 litre engine, 5-speed gearbox, which means it's got an awful lot more potential and performance than the original 2CV. This is going to be a totally different proposition than the 2CV. There's acres of space in here. As you can see, backseat passengers have got more room than any Super Mini I've ever seen before. I love the slatted glass automatic sunroof. It's a very airy feeling, very big front windscreen. On a motorway, whereas you'd never really dream of going on it in a 2CV, this car is going to have the performance of a mid-sized family car. This is different, it's bold. What I like about it is it's Citroen going back to what it was good at, being innovative, taking a bit of a risk. I feel a bit like a little kid really. It's a great buzz driving a car that no one else has driven before. It feels so futuristic. I've looked at futuristic cars before, but because they've always been in shows, you never really felt that they were real. Whereas this, I'm out on the road, it changes gear, it goes. The Super Mini world is full of predictable, boring cars. This is totally different. It is a car that seems ahead of its time, or that perhaps we've all been waiting for. Something fresh, something different. Welcome to the TARDIS. I do tend to feel as if I actually should be wearing something a little more futuristic. I feel as if I should have a fashion statement like a spacesuit or something like that, but never mind. Individual seating is absolutely massive. The seats can move back and forwards on 2 sets of individual rails. They also all come out, so you can turn it into a little mini estate car if you want to remove the seats. You can also move the seats further back for the rails if you've got a tall passenger, or further forward if you've got youngsters, and then you've got more luggage space. And with a click of the fingers, how about this for something that no other Super Mini on the road will give you? Quick flip of the seats, they will actually reverse, and you've got yourself a little front room. I'm very happily going to stick my neck out and say that we are looking here at a future motoring classic. A little car that will stand alongside other legends like the Beetle, the Mini and the 2CV. What I like about this different than the Beetle is, the Beetle is a very clever, but it's an unashamed rip-off of the original. This is far more. This has shades of the 2CV, but it really is a bold, bright new car for the future. And I think we're going to be buying it in absolute bucket loads. And the final little point is, where other car can you get where amongst all the other little extras you've got, you actually get your own shopping bag as part of the car interior. I'm not quite sure this is actually my colour or looks the part, but nevertheless, I'm just going to go and do a little bit of shopping.
The freedom on the open road, free to go, feeling good.
You've saved up long and hard for it, and you're going to enjoy it. You've had a succession of ordinary cars, and now you've got something a little bit special. You are really going to enjoy your motoring until that day when you return to the car park and it's not there anymore. Car crime affects so many people, yet most of us tend to want to think it will never happen to us. Now, for some years now, there have been various tracking systems available if your car gets stolen. There's the famous tracker system that's been going some years and been quite successful. The RAC have just launched their TrackStar system, which uses satellite tracking to provide the updated location of a stolen vehicle anywhere in the UK, and then the police are brought in. But wouldn't you like a system that not just works in the UK, but around the world? After all, many prestigious cars, we've heard, go to places like northern Russia, where the GSM system simply does not work. And also, do you really want to wait for that call from the police? Wouldn't you like to know exactly where your car was right now, and not just if it was stolen? Now there's a way that you can track vehicles by using the internet. It's the first system of its kind in this country, and it's called Spacetrack.
It takes information from either a GPS device, so it's in the car, or information from a laptop, sends it via satellites through the data communicator, and we receive it at our internet site. Comes along on a lease line, and the customer then accesses it via the internet, a secure account number and password, and they can see, in this case, exactly where their car is every 15 minutes during the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The system is claimed to be able to track a car within 50 metres, not just in the UK, not just within Europe, but anywhere on the global surface. There's a 64K leased line provided by XTML for the system, which not only allows Spacetrack crucial permanent internet access and customer support, but also security and resilience.
From where we sit, this is just one of a number of applications that you'll start to see that enables the public to get access to applications and information where typically they've had to go to call centres and service centres in the past. So if you look at today, there's 6 million access points in the UK onto the internet. Then for Spacetrack, each one of those terminal points become an access node for the user to go and get information about the location of the vehicle or whatever service they're using.
But at the moment, what this Spacetrack system offers is the ability for you to switch on a computer anywhere, at your office, at home, anywhere in the world, and find out where your vehicle is at any time.
I mean, you mentioned stolen vehicles, but in fact you can see where your car is any time. So quite an unpopular one might be with sales managers who want to keep track of their sales guys as they go around the country.
From where we sit, this is just one of a number of applications that you'll start to see that enables the public to get access to applications and information where typically they've had to go to call centres and service centres in the past.
So with this system, you are in control. You don't have to wait for a call back from a call centre or from the police. You can simply switch on your computer, log into the internet and find out where your vehicle is yourself before deciding what to do then. But how much does the Spacetrack system cost?
It costs about £50 per month for the hardware, installation, all the bits and pieces, and for all the internet service 24 hours a day.
£50 a month may seem expensive to you, but when it's to protect your precious baby, after all, do you, right now, know where your car is?